All right, hi everyone. Thanks for coming. My name's Kim, and I am a constable with the RCMP. I've been with the RCMP. I keep saying 8 years, but it's probably 9 years now, because when I know how old I was when I joined, and I know how old I am now. Yeah, the math is adding up when I say 8 years. So I worked my first 3 years as general duty in Queens District, so Charlottetown area, and then I worked 5 years out here in Montague. So this was part of my patrol area for 5 years, and then last April I moved into a federal unit, which is a little bit different than contract policing. So we call general duty, or the guys driving around in the police cars, contract policing. So they're paid by the province to respond to 911 calls and any sort of day-to-day calls. I'm now in a federal unit where we have a little bit of a different mandate. We respond to any national security, cyber crime, money laundering, organized crime, any of those sorts of bigger files. We take care of all that stuff. We may, look at things like human trafficking, if there's an international aspect to it, that sort of thing. And frauds, of course, with the international money laundering kind of ties that are often part of fraud or scams. So we work in that area as well. So today we're here to talk about scams and frauds. As we know, it is just so prevalent these days. It'd be very unlikely that you don't know someone who's been affected by a scam or a fraud, or had someone attempt to defraud you or scam you of your money. And so when we're speaking of scams and frauds, it means anything where someone is trying to take your money for themselves. So trying to take something that belongs to you for their own benefit. And if we look at some stats, these are stats from June 30th, 2023. So for the first 6 months of 2023, there was over 32,000 reported frauds in that first 6 months of 2023. Victims of frauds was just under 21,300. Now that's just 6 months. So we would at least double that for the full year. And this is a really scary part, and I think that's really concerning to our Canadian economy and residents, is that $283 million was lost to fraud in 6 months of 2023. Yeah. So, as I said, any form of dishonest or deceptive behavior in order to trick you out of your money for their own use. And some of the most common examples we're seeing, and you probably all have heard of these ones, Canada Revenue Agency, low interest rate offers, tech support pop-ups, arrest warrants. That's one of my favorite. I often get calls while I'm sitting at my office at RCMP headquarters saying that there's a warrant out for my arrest. Probably at least once a month, there's a warrant out for my arrest. So I ask my partner, do you know anything I should know about? And if they say no, then I know I'm good. I don't go for that. Credit card charge alerts is really, really common these days. And then investment scams. And investment scams have seen a real uptick since Bitcoin and online investing has become more prevalent. The thing that we forget, especially, we all say Maritimers, Islanders, we're all so nice, we're friendly, and we don't want to be mean, and it's hard to understand or to believe that other people aren't similar to us. And so these people that are doing these frauds, you just have to remember that they have no conscience, no scruples. They will sink to any level to take advantage of other people. And that's the really hard part to get our heads around, I think. And an example of that was during the Humboldt Broncos crash. There was a person who was actually charged, thank goodness they caught him and charged him, who was raising money for that cause, and it was all fraudulent. And we saw the same thing with Fiona. Often the Red Cross will be used saying that they're collecting money for that, and it will be a scam. So it's really tough, because these days we have to be really aware that even when we think it's a really good cause, it could be someone trying to scam us. So we have to take those extra steps to really be sure that they are legit. One that we're seeing here and in this area where people are losing a lot of money to is the grandparent scam. Has anyone heard of this one? So this is where a person will call you up and they'll say, hey, it's me, Bobby. I crashed my car. I need money to get it fixed and get back on the road. And I need money right away. Don't call anyone, just send me money. And being a good grandparent or uncle or aunt, you want to help. You don't want to say no. You're concerned that if you don't do it right away, and then you start sending money and it's a scam. It often happens where they say they've been arrested or in jail and they need money to get out of jail. But it's always very urgent. They need the money right away, and they don't want you to call anyone. They just want you to send it right away. One of the things we recommend for this, to be sure that you don't fall into this trick, is we will often suggest to people to set up a phrase or a code word with their family members and their nieces and nephews or grandchildren. So for example, you could tell your family members, when I ask you what kind of pizza do you want to have next time you come over, I want you to say pepperoni with pineapple. And so if you're talking to someone and you're not 100% sure it is who you think you are, you can simply say, okay, Bobby, what kind of pizza do you want to have when you come over next time? If they don't say pepperoni with pineapple, then you know it's not them. So it's an easy way, or it could just be a code word that you and your family all know that you can say to each other to make sure that it is the person you think it is. Just a little trick that can help. The romance scam is one that I've seen a lot. It's often older ladies who will fall for this, but I've also seen men get involved in this one as well. They may be online. It's often a lady who maybe lives by herself will get online, and it's always a military corporal from the United States, and they're overseas, and they need their money's all tied up in investments, so they just need money to get their investments out, get their plane ticket, whatever the case may be. I've seen, we often get families that will come to us because a loved one is involved in a scam like this. And that's the really hard part. Because they will come and they'll say, my mother is sending all this money to this person overseas. I know it's a scam, but she won't believe us. Can you make it stop? Unfortunately, we don't have the authority to do that. As long as someone is of sound mind, the police cannot go in and freeze their accounts. Even if we know they're being scammed, they have a right to do with their money what they want.
Even with permission?
Even with permission. So the only person who can stop sending those funds is that individual, that victim. Family members cannot, unless you have some power of attorneys and things in place beforehand. Then you may be able to have like an emergency order, temporary put in place to have until further investigation is done. But it happens quite a lot where families, and I've gone and talked to some of these people and said, look, this is a scam, we've seen it before, and they still continue to send money. So it's a really, really, really tough one. Because no one wants to believe that they've been scammed, especially when it involves, they've probably had very good conversations. These people know how to trick you. They're salesmen, they're saleswomen. They're trained to do this. This is their profession. So they know what to do and what to say to make you a victim. So it can be really, really hard when you have a loved one who falls for that. Some banks are now, and investment places are now putting in place just that. And you can pick someone in your family to sign an agreement that you can put an emergency stop on an account. It can only be for a short time, but it allows you, if you see, for example, with my mom, if I started to see, thousands and thousands of dollars disappearing from her account, I can call up the bank and say, hey, can you put a hold on this? I don't know what this money is going for, and it just gives you some time to figure it out. So it's always a good idea to talk to loved ones about that. That might be a good option to do if you think someone could fall victim. The one thing about scams is that there's always some signs. I like to call them the 4 Ps. So Scammers always pretend to be from an organization you know. They have realized that it's much more likely that I am going to send money or talk to you if you're familiar to me. So they use people like the government, CRA, Red Cross. So that will be a first indicator that it's probably a company that you're familiar with. They used to, with technology now, it's very easy that when I call you, I can make my caller ID look like it's from anywhere as I want it to be. So a lot of times now, we used to know, don't answer that call if the number is from Europe or overseas, but now they can change the number so it looks like it's a 902 area code, or that they're calling from Nova Scotia. They can even change it so the caller ID says Red Cross. I actually have an app on my phone that I can make it look like I'm calling from Joe's Tire Sales in Wood Islands. So it's very easy, it's a very simple technology that is available to everyone. So don't always trust what that caller display is showing you. Scammers always say that there's a problem or a prize. So there's an arrest warrant, there's a family emergency, there's a problem with your account. You won money, but you have to pay a fee to get it. So there's always that problem, and it's always very, very urgent. And they use very high pressure sales tactics. Again, they're trained in doing this. So just like a salesman who's trained in selling cars, they are trained in high pressure sales tactics, and they can get very aggressive and pretty rude and sometimes quite vulgar on the phone if you don't do what they want you to do. Scammers always tell you to pay in a specific way. A lot of times we see them wanting gift cards, Apple gift cards, Amazon gift cards, prepaid visas. If anybody ever asks you to pay in one of those manners, that's a huge red sign. You would never ever need to pay a legit company in gift cards or prepaid visas or anything like that. Also a lot of like money wires, things like that. And scammers always pressure you to act immediately. So they won't let you hang up. Often they will keep you on the line when you go to the store to buy the gift cards. I've had victims who said, well, they were on my cell phone and they told me to keep them on the phone while I went and paid. So that they don't want to make sure that they are giving you exact instructions on what to do and that they don't lose that connection with you. And they don't want you calling someone else to let them in that they're being victimized. So they want to keep you on that line and until you do what they tell you to do. And they will threaten to arrest you. They'll say all kinds of things. This especially happens with some of our newcomer populations because they're not as comfortable with the police. They're concerned about being sent out of the country. And so we're seeing a lot of them fall victim to people saying that we'll come arrest you, don't call the police. And that's for them, probably in some of their own countries, they wouldn't call the police because that would cause more trouble for them. And then they often tell you to lie. I've had, because a lot of our pharmacies, grocery stores, places that sell gift cards, if they see a person coming in buying, $2,000 in gift cards, it's a red signal to them, so they'll often ask questions. So now the victims are being told to lie, to say, oh, I buy it all at once to send out for gifts to my grandchildren or something of that nature. So they will often tell you to lie about the purpose of why you're buying those gift cards. So how do you protect yourself from scams? We are finding, unfortunately, when someone has fallen victim to a scam, it is very, very difficult to get that money back. It's pretty rare that we do, unfortunately. The reason for that is because a lot of the origin of these scams are from outside our own country. And once we cross that border into another country, we don't have jurisdiction there to, go and arrest them, go and make them give us the money back. So once it crosses that border, it can be quite difficult. Now we can sometimes create big task forces to go and investigate in another country, and we can work with the other country's government to help us recover some of those funds, but it can be it can be quite difficult and it requires quite a lot of resources. So the thing that we're finding is the most important is prevention. To make people aware, to make sure that we're alive to the risks and to some of these telltale signs so that we don't fall victim and that we can protect ourselves. So the very first one, if it seems too good to be true, it is. A recent one we saw is Costco was selling off overstock of iPads for, I think it was $3. Probably Costco isn't going to sell anything for $3. So if it's too good to be true, it most likely is. Do your research. We get a lot of calls now for charity. So Fiona or Ukraine or a lot of these different important causes, but people will take advantage of that, say they're calling from a charity and ask you for money. One thing you can do is there's a www.charitydata.ca. They have a full list of charities on their website. You can type in the name of the charity that they've given you and it will give you a full history of that charity. Where it's located, how they collect money, what they donate money to, if they have a bricks and mortar location. And so do your research before you donate any money. I always like to tell people, if a charity calls you and asks you for a donation, if you say, no, I will donate next week, they are never going to turn that down if it's a real charity. They will take your money today, they will take it tomorrow, they'll take it in a month's time. So a lot of these, if they're putting pressure on to donate right now, it's likely a scam. But if it's a charity that's like, okay, yes, here's more information, here's our website, here's our email address, and they're saying, okay, yes, go look for yourself, they will take your money tomorrow. If you go and do your research and realize that they're a legit charity, you can donate tomorrow. So don't be afraid to say, no, I want to do some more research, I want to look into it. They will not turn down your money if they're a real charity. Don't give out personal or financial information. We all, of course, this is common sense. Social media is great, and we like to share lots of things, and it's great to do that, to share. And we say don't give out personal information. So a lot of people think personal information, oh, you know, my address, my banking information, maybe my date of birth. But the things that we forget about, how many people here have actually maybe gone online on Facebook or some other social media account and wished your friend or your kid or someone happy birthday? Yep, we all do it. There's actually I had a file one time. I was dealing with a lady and it was quite late at night, and she would have been sleeping. And I needed to get some paperwork done for this file. Wanted to get it done that night. And I needed the full names and date of births of her 2 young children. They weren't, of course, in our databases or anything. I'm like, what do I do? So I looked her up on Facebook. Well, guess what she does every year on her kid's birthday? Little Johnny, I can't believe you're 5 today. So right there, I had the kid's name, their exact date of birth, how old they are. Had all the information I needed. So when we're thinking about posting personal information online, it can be a lot more than what we think of, like our address or our bank account information. And for a grandparent scheme, what do you need to know? If I was the bad guy and I know that you have a kid going to Dalhousie University and he only comes home at Christmas and for summer break, well, all of a sudden you've given me all the information I need to do a grandparent scheme, because I know that you have a grandchild that's far away, doesn't live close to you, that you don't get to see very often. So there's all kinds of information that can be grabbed from the internet, which we may not think is personal, but can be used against us. I see all the time those fun little surveys. Have you seen them? Like, what road did you grow up on? What was the name of your first pet? That is 100% them, some scamster out there collecting personal information about you. Because how many people use the name of their first pet as a password? When you go into a bank and you set up your personal security questions as a verification of who you are. A lot of those questions of what's your mother's maiden name? What road did you grow up on? What was the make of your first car? Well, those, if you think about it, those are all the questions that are in those fun surveys that Facebook asks us to do all the time. So it doesn't seem like personal information, but it definitely is information that a fraudster or a scamster could use to access our personal information. Be aware of upfront fees. A recent one we're seeing is apartment scams, where they're saying, give me a down payment for an apartment, and then the apartment never becomes available. Puppies and dogs is a huge one. I've had a few of these lately where people sent money away for a down payment on a dog, and then the dog, they never hear from them again. So try and get some verification, or best thing, don't pay them until you get the product or see the product in hand, because that is happening a lot with Facebook Marketplace and some of these online sellers. Protect your computer. If you're not comfortable with virus software or making sure that your computer is safe, take it to someone who specializes in that to make sure that you have a malware software installed and an antivirus. That can help protect you a little bit from these things. It's not 100% guaranteed, but it can help. And then we already spoke about creating a safe word or phrase. Use strong passwords, so that's at least 8 characters, a mixture of numbers and letters and symbols, and nothing that someone could guess. So a lot of people will use their birth date, the name of a pet, things like that. So try and create something that's really random and that someone couldn't guess about you. And then the 2 most important things that I tell people is to stop and talk to someone you trust. When you get caught up on these, they take advantage that they have you one-on-one attention, and that you don't have time. They're pressuring you. So you don't have time to stop and think, does this make sense? Because they're in your ear and they're pushing and picking at you, breaking down your ability to say no or to actually think, is this legit? So I had a man on the way to Charlottetown in a cab. He was going to Charlottetown to get gift cards, and he called the police station. He's like, this is kind of weird. This person's telling me to go get gift cards, and there's a whole scam involved. And he goes, I'm in a cab, and luckily he was in the cab, so he had a moment to stop, and he didn't have a cell phone, so they weren't on the phone with them. He's like, do you think it's real? And I'm like, turn the cab around. Do not go and buy those gift cards. But if he hadn't taken that moment to stop and call us, he would have been out a couple $1,000. Because, they just use that pressure tactic. So, talk to a family member, talk to a neighbor. And I say, if you're not sure, call the police station. We do not mind. I would much rather someone call me and say, hey, do you think this is real, and you turn out to be nothing, than to know that you've fallen victim to a scam. These scams, they often happen in clusters. So it's very likely if someone's trying to victimize you, they've probably done a similar thing in the same area, because they tend to get clusters of numbers and hit all of those people in the area. So we'll usually be aware of it. And then if we're not, by you calling us, then we can warn the next person. So it's super important to call us or talk to someone you trust. If you have that feeling in your stomach, like something doesn't seem right, trust it and talk to someone. And then this is the biggest one. Don't be afraid to say no. If someone calls you and it doesn't seem right, say no. The only good thing about a lot of these frauds and scams is that they're not in front of you. It's usually on the phone, on your computer, through email. So even though it can be very scary and uncomfortable and not a nice feeling, they can't physically hurt you because they're not right there. So just hang up the phone. Say no, or a lot of things that I like to tell people to do is have a line that you're comfortable with. So for example, if someone's calling me looking for money, a line I use is, oh, my husband and I, we discuss everybody that we're going to donate money to. So I need to talk to him about it. Because if I'm not comfortable saying no, well, that gives me a little line. I can say that. I have it in my head, ready to go when anyone calls. I feel comfortable saying that because I'm not saying no, but I'm saying, no, I have to talk to my husband, and then we'll discuss it. So a line that you're comfortable with, or maybe say, oh, we only donate to certain charities each year. We've already made our list, but maybe we'll add you to our charity next year. So it just gives you a line to say, and then hang up. Don't wait for them to say anything else. Hang up that phone. And you can always just hang up the phone, or don't respond to the email, whatever you need to do. But don't be afraid to say no. We don't like saying no. But that's what we need to do, unfortunately. The top 5 most impersonated organizations we're seeing is CRA, Canada Post, Amazon, UPS, and Netflix. It's most likely all of you in here have received some sort of email or text message from one of these companies. They're the top 5 that we're seeing in Canada right now as being impersonated. So we talk about, one of the methods they use is spoofing. And so when I mentioned about, you can put in any caller ID that you want, that would be an example of spoofing. So it's when a person is using a means to trick you into thinking that they're someone else. That's all that spoofing is. And they can do it through caller IDs, through emails, or through websites, for example. So this is actually a real email that I received on my personal phone, in my personal email. I use PayPal quite a lot to buy things online. This was an email I got. So I looked at it quickly. I'm like, verification required to sign in. We recently asked you to take action on your account, but it looks like you haven't responded yet. So right away, I'm like, oh, geez, is there something going on with my account? Is someone trying to get into my account? And kindly enough, they gave me a nice convenient link down here, so I can just click on that link and maybe go in and see what's going on with my account. But there are a few little indicators here that kind of tip me off to say that this might not be legit. Anybody see anything right off that doesn't look right?
The verification.
Yeah, the verification. And this is a big one here.
PayPal.
Yeah.
Your customer.
Yeah.
If it was your account, it would say
my name. 100%. All of those things. And one really big one that is usually always there in a fake email is this email address here will be a bunch of random letters or numbers. So all of those little indicators said, okay, this doesn't seem right. So what would happen if I did click on that link is it would take me to a web page that probably looked like a real PayPal web page, but it would be a fake PayPal web page. And then as soon as I put in it would probably ask me for my login ID, username. Once I put in that information, then I just sent it off to probably Russia or Iraq or somewheres. And then they would have access to my PayPal account, which has my Visa number, home address, all kinds of really great information that they can use. So if you ever get an email, what I do when I get an email like this, and I don't think it's real, but I'm a little bit worried because what if, someone is trying to get into my account? So what I do is I delete the email, I go to my phone or my laptop, and I type in the address that I know is real. So I use either a book link, a bookmarked address that I've used in the past to log into PayPal, and I log in through ways that I know is real, and then I check all my information, verify everything to make sure no one's been in there. And that's what you can do in any case. Same thing happens if someone calls you up and says your credit card has been compromised. They give you and you say, no, I don't trust you, I'll call you back. They will likely give you a number because they're so helpful. Don't use the number they give you. Look on the back of your credit card, get the number off the back of your credit card, and call that number. And then you can be sure that you're connecting to the right, legit people. That's really important to do. And in those cases, we have had a situation where someone did everything right, It was a credit card scam. They called them, they said there's charges on your credit card that are suspicious. And they said, they were right, they were like, okay, I'll call you guys back. And so they hung up the phone. They got their credit card, picked the phone up and dialed the number, started to talk. And what the only mistake they made is that when they hung up the phone, the other people, the fraudsters, didn't hang up. So they kept that line open. And if you don't leave the phone on your end hung up long enough, it doesn't disconnect. It takes about 30 seconds or so for the actual line to disconnect. So they picked that up, dialed the number, and then the bad guy on the other end was like, hello, yes, American Express, how can we help you? And then they proceeded to give them all their information. So make sure in that situation, if you clue in and say, I don't believe these guys, I'm gonna get my credit card, I'm gonna call this number, switch phones, move to a cell phone, move to a landline, or just make sure that phone has been hung up for at least a minute. And when you pick it up, make sure you hear a dial tone. Because if they haven't disconnected, you won't hear that dial tone. So make sure, listen to the dial tone and then dial your number, because we have seen that. Something else we've also seen in terms of credit card scams is sometimes a lot of people don't look at their statements anymore. So we do everything online. But sometimes if you look at your statement, you'll notice like $1.07 charge. And who's going to sit on the telephone line with Visa for 2 hours to ask them about this $1 charge? I would probably look at it and say it's really not worth my time. It's only $1.07. Like, what's the big deal? But what we're finding is what these companies will do. All of our credit cards now have algorithms on them to alert you to suspicious activity. So if I've always used my credit card in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, and then all of a sudden my credit card is used in Montreal, and there's a $1,000 charge from Montreal, the little algorithm is going to say, flag, this is suspicious. And it will alert me, and then I'll know that someone has gained access to my credit card. So what they're doing is I have my credit card that I use in Charlottetown. Someone in Montreal or wherever they are will charge a very small amount, $1.07. No one notices it because it's a small amount, who cares? It goes through no problem. A month later, again, maybe $2. Again, I see the charge, it's only $2. I'm not gonna call the 1-800 number, sit on the line. Don't really worry about it if I even notice $2 on my credit card. Now what those scamsters have done is they have told that algorithm, oh, Kim's using her credit card in Montreal. So then they'll do a big charge, $500, $1,000, because my credit card is seeing that I've been using my card in Montreal. It doesn't flag it as suspicious activity. So really important to really be aware of charges on your credit cards in your bank accounts. And even if they're small amounts, follow it up to make sure there's not someone out there testing the waters or trying to overcome that algorithm that will alert them to suspicious activity. So protect yourself. Never assume phone numbers are real or who they say they are on your caller ID. Hang up several minutes and wait several minutes. And call the organization using a number you know is real. So a number that you have gotten, that you've gone on the internet and got, or you've looked on the back of your card or on a bill for Maritime Electric. Everybody has their numbers and actual addresses printed somewhere for you. Never click on links in suspicious text or emails, like that PayPal email I had. Don't click on that link. If you do want to go to PayPal just to verify that your account is okay, again, go and get your own link and go to one that you have bookmarked or that you know that you've used in the past. Verify the URL, domain name, or email address. A lot of websites will have like fake websites. Bed Bath & Beyond was one. And so they had the real website, and I think the real website was bedbathbeyond.ca. The fake one was like bedandbath.ca. And it looked exactly like the real one, but it was fake. One of the things you can look for is up on the address bar where you have your www address. There should be a little padlock icon, and it should be locked. That tells you that it has security set up on that website. Most scamsters won't go to the extra step of getting a security certificate set up. So make sure that padlock is there. That means it's secure. Also, another thing to do is always look at the little links along the bottom of the page. So where they have like return policies, shipping details. Again, because they are creating these sites really quickly and they want to get them up so they can scam as many people as they can before they get taken down, they often don't take the time to do proper pages in those links along the bottom. So if you opened up shipping details, it probably wouldn't have real shipping details in there. It would be something grabbed from another site. It wouldn't match up to the site that you're on. So if you look at those little links across the bottom, dig a little deeper into that site, you'll often find things that don't add up. Because the front page will look good, if you go deeper, they haven't taken the time to do a real website. Look for spelling errors, sentence structure, grammatical error. This used to be the key way to figure out if it was real or not. We are finding now that the fraudsters are becoming much better, much more educated, much more sophisticated. So even ones that are calling us, they're taking language training to sound like they're from North America. They're trying to get rid of those accents. They're making sure that they use good spelling, proper grammar, so it doesn't tip us off. So this isn't something you can completely rely on now. I've seen fake emails and fake websites that have very good English and spelling and grammar and have been completely fake. So it can be a sign, but don't depend that it will always be there anymore. And only open attachments from trusted sources. So what do you do if you are a victim? It's super important to act quickly. We have been able to stop money wires, stop Purelator deliveries when we know right away, but it has to be quick. It has to be, you can't wait a few days or a week. It needs to be right away. So stay calm and gather as much information as you can. So if they gave you a name, if they gave you an email address, if they gave you a QR code for a Bitcoin wallet, keep all of that stuff and pass it on to the police. Any interactions you had, really important to keep all those details. Because not only could it be information to help get your money back, but they often use that same information to scam the next person. So we would take that, put it in a file, and then police somewhere else would do a search and they may be able to use that information to solve another crime somewhere else. Contact your financial institutions. So if your RBC account has been compromised, call RBC. They're the experts. They have security teams. This is all they do is fraud and security breaches. So they know best what to do. They will tell you if you need to change your passwords, if you need to shut down your account and get a new one, if you need to get a new debit card or a bank card. And they will also put a flag on your account so that if anything suspicious happens in the future, you should be alerted right away. Change all your passwords and then report to the credit bureaus. So on that handout is some of this information. So numbers for Equifax and Equinox. Those are the two credit bureaus in Canada. And again, if you have, say your social insurance number has been compromised, they can put a flag on you so that if someone's trying to open up get a loan in your name, you'll be notified. Because anything like that, if mortgages, loans, credit cards, they all go through these two credit bureaus. And if there's a flag on your account, they will alert you if that happens. One thing we saw a lot of with CERB payments, a lot of people were getting CERB payments in other people's names. And the victim didn't realize until they went to file their taxes. And at tax time, they got a slip saying that they had received $4,000 in CERB payments when they hadn't gotten any money at all, but it was someone who had opened up something in their name. So that caused quite a lot of, and a credit bureau would alert you to that. Sometimes it can cost some money, sometimes through your bank, it's offered as a free service. So that's a good thing to know as well. Contact the police. We expect that only about 5% of people scammed or defrauded report to police. There's look right on target, right on on cue. I mentioned Willie said he walks in. So if you have if you are defrauded or scammed, call this guy. Call the detachment. There's lots of reasons why people don't report. No one wants to be a victim. No one wants to feel like someone's gotten one over on them. So it's embarrassing. There's all kinds of emotions. But it's super, super important. And a big one too, of course, is probably, well, I'm not going to get my money back anyway, so why am I going to even bother? But the reason why it's important that you report is because, yes, you may not be successful at getting your money back, but whenever it's reported to us, we always create a file. And once that file is created, it has all the details of what has happened to you. And that can be used because often the same fraud is happening to people all across the country. And so we can link all of those frauds together. And then if enough of them are happening, we can get information out there through the media. We can post on our websites to be aware, to warn people. And also in some cases, for example, one that we've heard on the news quite a bit lately is the sextortion frauds. So in those cases, there was similar usernames being used for a lot of the people that were being victims of the sextortion frauds. And there was actually a task force out in BC that went over to Nigeria and attempted to deal. They found the people who were doing it and attempted to work with the Nigerian government to deal with those people. So good things can come out of it, but it's really important that you do report it if you've been a victim. And we hear a lot about seniors being victims. And yes, seniors are at high risk, but right now, really everyone across the board is high risk. Young people are high risk because they're much more likely to be online, much more comfortable being online. So everybody really is at risk. When you contact the police, you want to ask them for help, they'll give you some direction, and then you want to get a file number. Every time you make a report to police, or in most cases, we will create a file, and it has a file number. And that's important to have because if down the road, maybe your credit card was compromised, you think you have everything all fixed up, all good, but down the road, it's compromised again. Well, you can say, hey, this has been reported, or if it's something with your house or insurance and you need to go through insurance, they will want you to have a file number so that they know you've reported it to police and it's a real incident. So always ask for that file number and then keep that for your records. And then protect yourself from future fraud. Unfortunately, this is not a one and done. If you get scammed, you are likely on a list as someone who has been scammed, and they will try again in the future because they feel like you could be an easy target. So if you've been scammed or a victim in the past, it's possible that there will be further attempts. So don't let your guard down that because you went through it once. I'm good now. I'll be safe now. It's already happened, but unfortunately, they will probably target you again. As we talked earlier, always review your bank and credit card statements. Even those small little charges could be significant and could mean something bigger. And then really important, talk to family and friends. That's the best way to keep ourselves safe and make sure that we're following the right things. So what's happened, I like to try and blame a little bit of everything on COVID, and we can do that a little bit with this. What we saw happen during COVID is that everybody, because we were so isolated, everybody really started communicating online more, doing online banking. We even started doing medical appointments online. So we're living our lives much more online. In 2022, Canadians aged 15 years and older, 95% of them were regularly online. But the interesting thing that we saw is that the largest increase to the group of people being online were Canadians 75 years of age and older. So they went from 62% in 2020 to 72% in 2022. So we have a whole group of older people who weren't online, didn't really use the technology a whole lot. Now all of a sudden they are online And so of course, because it's fairly new and something that they're new at, a good group to target. And most Canadians are doing online banking, doing investments, and especially with cryptocurrencies now. People are very comfortable just doing everything online. So the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, they keep track of all of these frauds and statistics, and they're a great resource. If you go to the Canadian, this is on the handout I gave you there, they have a list of every fraud that's happening or going on or has ever happened. So for example, if you went there and typed in grandparent scam, it will give you a whole sheet of information on this grandparent scam. What their methods are, what they do, how it happens. So great source of information. They also have all kinds of tips and resources how to protect yourself and keep yourself safe, things to watch out for. So that's a great site if you're looking for more information. In 12,944 reports, this was from 2021, so just seniors alone in 2021 lost $83.5 million. Just seniors. And when we think about that, that's really scary because a lot of these seniors are on fixed incomes and they don't have the time to get that money back. So where a young person is still working and they may be able to make that up, they can't get that back. I had a lovely couple in Montague who, over a span of 5 years, lost $300,000. They were both retired, and so that really changed their lifestyle. They were in a comfortable unit that they rented. They had to move out of that because they couldn't afford that. They had to go to a debt consolidator because they had to figure out how to pay off. They had actually worked up some debt, used all their savings, and then incurred some debt as well. So it can be devastating to people who think they have their years, the rest of their life kind of planned out, and then to have something like this could just devastate that lifestyle. Emergency scams, which is like your grandparent scams, that sort of things, they're one of the big ones. They were up to 9.2 million just in those emergency scams. And that, to see the increase, and you can see how things go sort of in waves. In 2021, they claimed $2.4 million of the scam world. In 2022, just a year later, it was more than double. So you can see. And these are some of the top ones: identity fraud, extortion. The sextortion would fall within that. That's pretty common. And then in terms of money, so for example, in 2021, romance scam claimed $19 million from seniors in Canada. So everybody is at risk. There's no one who's safe from this. There's no group, low income, high income, middle class, educated, I have seen people, extremely smart people with lots of degrees and education fall victim to scams. It happens to everyone. There are groups of people who are at higher risk. So anybody who's sort of socially isolated, and we saw this during COVID, and maybe one reason why you hear seniors mentioned a lot as being more vulnerable. Anyone with medical issues, so anyone who has cognitive issues, Alzheimer's, dementia, or even taking certain medications that cause you to have some cognitive issues or memory loss. Disposable income. Many younger people don't have the money to send, and so people in that bracket that have disposable income or maybe more willing to take some risk with their money. Those are the ones you see fall victim to the investment scams. More willing to listen and trust. Sometimes older people, seniors, will talk to someone, be more willing to listen to them, unlike some of the younger, more critical sort of youth that we see coming along. People who are less familiar with technologies. And there is a little bit of a misinformation here. We tend to blame the technology for frauds and scams because it is using our technology to facilitate these scams. But in 90% of cases, there is a human factor that allows the scamster to defraud us or make us victims. So we think it's someone sitting behind this computer screen and they're super techie and they can break into your computer and get all your stuff, but there has to be that human interaction where we give them a password, we give them personal information about ourselves. So in most of these cases, it can be prevented by the human in there. They can't just do it with technology. There has to be some sort of human interaction there in order for them to be successful. And then generational and cultural factors. Again, like we mentioned earlier about some of the new people coming to our country, they're not as familiar with the court system. Police are not comfortable reporting things, or they're worried about being sent back. So they can be taken advantage of that way as well. So Canada Anti-Fraud Center, this should be on your sheet if you want more information about any fraud that is going on. Service Canada, if you have your social insurance number compromised, make sure you call them right away. That's the phone number, or there's a website there with more information. Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, they have all kinds of information about how to keep yourself safe, and if you're at risk. You can go in and do a little survey, and it will tell you what kind of risk level you have and what steps you can take to protect yourself. Same with getcybersafe.ca and cybersavvycanada.ca. And these are all sites that I've been using, I use all the time for more information and to learn things and get tips and tricks on how to keep safe. And then of course your locals attachment, the numbers are on there for them as well. If you ever have any questions, I can guarantee you they will not mind talking to you. You don't have to just call if you think you've been a victim. But if you aren't sure and you have questions, call and ask to talk to a police officer, and they can definitely help you determine if there is an issue or not. That is all of mine. And now, any questions that anybody has, or anything specific that you would like to ask about?
Well, I came here to learn more, of course, and I mean, I'm dealing with it right now.
Yep.
And in my mind, I've abandoned. I will not get that money back.
Yes.
And which is annoying.
Yeah.
Because I try to reach groups that are supposed to help get your money back.
Okay.
They're all trying to scam me on top of it.
Yeah.
So they're scamming me from being scammed.
Yes.
And like you said, they pressure me. Some are rude and everything. Yep. And everything. And one said, we need to know that your money is not for what's the word? What's happening in
for terrorism.
Terrorism.
Yes.
He said, we need to know that you're not a terrorist.
Yes.
And I said, this is not 100,000, it's like 40,000. They don't need my money.
Yes.
You know? And
that's a very common line they'll use, is that you have to make sure it's not for terrorism and you got to pay these fees so it can be cleared and all this sort of thing.
So I hang up.
Yes. Yeah. And so definitely what you want to do is make sure you have any numbers, phone numbers, any information that they've.
But you know what? You said to me that the number, I was watching a number, it says Ontario, Vancouver, but some of the time it was a 44.
Yes.
So I knew it was outside of Canada.
Yeah.
But then suddenly it comes back, it's a number of Canada. And we didn't know they could change the number.
Yes.
Because the guy, he asked me what my name, I said, Eric, is that a girl or a guy or a girl? I said, Eric.
Yeah.
I mean, right there, I'm thinking he's not from here, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And what did he have an accent? A strong accent? Okay.
He has an accent.
Yeah. And so sometimes and it's tricky now because, I mean, you have to be careful of biases, because typically we've kind of trained ourselves that if we hear a strong accent, that we automatically may jump to that conclusion that it could be a scam. And I had a company in Charlottetown, I was getting a new garage door, and the guy called me a strong accent, a little bit difficult to understand, and I automatically jumped to, oh, this could be a fraud, and he wasn't. He was completely. So we have to be really careful with the other side now, because the side effect of some of these scams is how it's affecting us and our outlook
We're not trusting people.
Exactly, we're losing trust, and so that's really part of the thing that we're fighting as well, is not just people being victimized and everything that brings, but these side effects of how we perceive people and people with accents, and it's terrible that we've come to that. But you have to just be aware, but but be very careful and just be careful.
You said that when they scan you, that's it. I've been targeted so many times. They got me twice so
Yes.
far, Pat and Beyond.
And
They got
that's
me, Pat and Beyond, they got me big time. And I looked, the website was immaculate. But now I know to go look at the sending
Yes.
email. Most of the time it would not be correct.
Exactly.
And, but I mean,
And I, about a year ago, my son, there's a particular type of shoe he liked, a sneaker,
Okay.
and he wanted a new pair of sneakers, and he came to me, he said, "Mom, I found these sneakers, they're the ones I really like.
good deal.
Yeah, this is the length, they were like half price," and I should have, if it's too good to be true, take my own advice. And so I went on the website, everything looked good, looked real, looked like the site I had been on before. Purchased the sneakers, and I often use PayPal when I'm buying things online because I've had more success with them if it is a fraud.
Yeah.
And purchased sneakers, and then when the receipt came through to my email, it said, "Mary Jane has accepted your money." I was like, Mary Jane, why is she accepting money for a sneaker company? So right away I was like, okay, I've been scammed. It was like $70, but luckily I had used PayPal, and they're very good. I've had issues with Visa. They do have protection, but it's very hard to get it. So with Visa, if you've ordered something online and they say you'll have it in 3 weeks, Visa will not even entertain an investigation until that 3 weeks has passed. Then you also have to tell them that you've contacted the company and all these steps that you've taken to prove it's a fraud. And it's a lot of work to try and get.
The Bed and Bad and Beyond, I did it with my credit card.
Yeah.
Because my sister told me that, and they said to me when I called them, I said, I think I felt like an idiot and everything, and she says, "You're not the only one."
No.
And I said, I think I bought like 10 things. She said, "No, 25. And I said, "You know?" She says, "Yes, we all know what's happening." So I felt like an idiot, and at the end they gave me my money back.
Yes.
They said, "You've been with us for a while. We know the scam." I was good, but this one I lost $40,000, and the guy's asking me to give him money to get my money back.
Yeah, and I can 99.9% be sure to say, if you give him that money, you will not get it.
Of course.
Yeah.
And at this point, I decided, you know what?
Yeah.
It bugs me because I'm retired.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know what? It's been killing me mentally because every day they call me, it's a different one, and they are telling me like I'm an idiot, an imbecile, and everything, and they're swearing at me. And I'm thinking, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You're supposed to help me, not swear at me.
Yeah, and that's the tactics they use, and it's hard. It's hard for us to understand how you can do that. But I mean, it's hard for us to put ourselves in their place. We don't know where they are, what country they're in, what their conditions are, and this is how they make their living.
I know. I think I'm becoming a scammer. It makes more money than this.
You know what? No doubt that some of them probably do.
They're driving the Corvette. But so I did do everything. I went to the police and all that stuff, and I contacted their CMP, whatever.
Yep, perfect.
And I'm trying to. I went online, I look at all the companies when they've been doing the comments on if they're legit and everything.
Yeah.
All of them, they're trying to scam me.
Yeah.
So I decided, you know what? That's it.
Yeah.
I abandoned.
Yeah.
But I'm disappointed because I'm thinking, this is not like that and beyond. I lost like $3,000.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. I got it back. But now it's 40.
It's a lot of money.
I'm retired, so it's not like I'm.
No, exactly. And
but I guess now that you say it, I'm a target.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so, sorry to tell you this, but you wanna make sure that you it might be a good idea to reach out to some of the Equinox and just to make sure that your accounts. Do you think that, did you give them any account information? Like, do you think any of your accounts could be compromised, or?
No, I didn't
Okay.
give them my account. I did put my account myself.
Yes, okay,
But at one point, when the one that was trying to help me,
yeah,
she logged in on my computer
yeah,
to show me a program, and she went into my email, and I said right away, I closed it. I said, "What are you doing?"
mm-hmm.
She says, "I need to know that you make transaction." I said, "No." I said, "You're not going to my email."
Yeah.
And then we started to argue and everything, and she swore at me.
Yeah, and that someone who's in a profession is not going to be swearing
I
at
know.
you, and yeah. But it's hard, like
But mentally, it just killed me that someone is
100%, yeah,
gets
yeah.
scammed. They were trying to scam me on top of the scam. It's like,
Yeah.
seriously,
Yeah.
I must look like an idiot. I must be like on the page somewhere, it's like idiot. Okay, oh, I've called this idiot. He's stupid.
But that's the
It's
problem.
hard.
That's
Yeah.
why a lot of people don't
Yeah.
report it. It's because you feel ridiculous or you feel
Yeah, but I
like
didn't feel ridiculous. I went to the police
Yeah,
this time.
and
Yeah,
it's-
And
very
the
good.
other time also, but I got the money from Battalion at least.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely report it, and as I said, I mean, unfortunately, there's not a great chance that you'll get your money back, but
Yeah.
you may help prevent someone in the future, or down the road there could be a bigger project done where we do recover some funds.
Is there any way to, because the website is still on.
Yes, so there are, and people don't realize there are steps that can be taken by police to get information. In a lot of cases, that will just tell us who they are. It will likely say, oh, these people are from,
Country.
another country
Yeah.
outside. But it's still nice to know that information, but that stuff does take time, so you have to be very patient.
Oh.
Because in order for us to find out who owns or operates a website,
Yeah.
in many cases we have to write a production order to where the website is hosted or who the website is registered through, for them to give us their information, and that can take a couple of months.
Yeah.
Usually, once we get it written, we have to take it to a judge has to approve it, then you send it to them, and the company has usually at least 30 days to give us that information.
And an example, in Canada, do we have like a company, or is it maybe in this one, that they are legit and will try to do something for me, or no?
Not that I know of.
Okay, because
And
all
that
companies
doesn't
are not
mean-
from here.
Yeah, that doesn't mean they don't exist, but I don't
Okay,
know.
okay.
Do you know of any? No, I don't know of any.
Because it's
Yeah.
all UK.
Yeah,
It's all UK,
Yeah.
I get.
yes,
And
yeah,
thinking when I see that, I'm thinking, well, but they say they do it for the entire world,
yeah.
which of course it's nice.
Yeah,
But me, an idiot,
Yeah.
I believe it. Yeah.
and even like part of the problem that and I know this kind of came up with this extortion when they tried to prosecute the people from Nigeria. So Canada will not cause anyone, anywhere in the world, we can't do anything that could cause a person to be tortured or,
Okay.
and so if we are working with the government, we have to have them promise us that they're not going to torture that person or kill them, and in a lot of cases, we can't be sure that won't happen with some of these countries. And so in some cases, we may know who the bad guy is in that other country, but as a Canadian, we
We're
can't.
too nice.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
But you know what,
And-
that's the beauty
yeah.
of being a Canadian. Living in PI, it's even
Yeah.
worse. You know, it's like, oh, PI. You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah,
perfect.
it's-
You know, this is our new target, PI.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Sure.
Well, we are we can be very trusting and
Yeah,
very,
we're too nice. I
Yeah,
know.
we can be.
My-
And that's why I said, don't be afraid to say no.
I
Don't be
know.
afraid to hang up. You know,
I did
just-
hang up a lot so
Yeah,
far. It's
yeah.
like I'm almost doing like muscle side.
Yeah.
I've got that I won't even do surveys anymore. Like they'll call you with a particular survey
Yeah,
company,
you're right.
and I just say, no,
You're right.
no, I'm not for
Yeah.
now.
And it's
If I do,
unfortunate
you
that
don't
we've
tell
got
us.
to that
Yeah.
point.
I know.
It is because,
It is.
and I used to do a lot of school talks, and I would warn the kids about online safety and how dangerous it is. And it's unfortunate because in many cases that's the only way we can keep in touch with family and friends. So it is a great tool, but we just have to be so careful and so guarded.
And I did one that I was able to find out was going through. I was talking to someone, and I said, if you're real, you're going to own a piece of paper, you're going to write my name on it. My name is spelled special way.
Yeah.
And they say, "Well, write your name," and you're going to hold it right in front of you. No, they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well,
Yeah.
it's like, hello.
Yeah. We have found too that like some people who are probably kind of gotten to the point where you're at, where you're just so fed up and you're like, fine, if they want to call me, I'm going to keep them on the line and I'm going to waste their time. Talk to lots of people who do that, but you have to be super careful because this is what they do as their livelihood, and they can target you. So we had a guy who did that. He's like, I'm gonna waste your time, and he did that. And the guy swore at him. They must have put his name into like an auto dialer because his phone was ringing constantly for days. Yeah, so you just have to be really careful because you don't know what tools they have access to, and a lot of them can be part of a bigger organized group, and they could be all linked. Because with this sort of stuff, it could be 15-year-old with a cell phone, or it could be a large call center, sitting somewhere overseas. So you just don't know who you're dealing with.
Scammers.com.
Yeah.
One of the scams out there too, they're phoning you, but they're not saying anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they say, "Can you hear me?"
Just say yes,
and then they sign you up for something.
yes.
Yeah.
I heard that.
And
I just hang up.
Yeah, a lot of times when you hear that pause, what they're using is phone over or voice over IP. So it's actually coming through like the internet, and that can be a sign too that it's not legit. There are companies here that use it as well, but that pause is because it's coming over IP, so through like over internet, and then it has to connect and click in, and it's probably like an auto dial, and so it would ring through. Once it gets a connection and it knows it has a connection, then it would alert the operator on the other end.
Yeah.
So that can be an indicator that it's
If they don't speak to me the minute I pick up my phone, then it goes down.
Yeah, that's a good
If I
thing.
don't know the number of the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, that's right, I do that too. lots
Yeah.
of
But I
times.
didn't know they could spoof the number.
Yes, yeah,
That's why I picked up the number.
Yeah.
I picked up
Yeah.
the call.
yeah.
Because I
That's
saw Ontario, I'm thinking, okay, this is in Canada.
and that's just an app. You can buy it from the Apple store that you can put on your phone, and you can put in any number or business, company name, whatever you want it to be.
This
Yeah.
is so insane, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a very cheap technology.
People working to, like you guys and everything, you must be like,
Well, it's hard because it's the technology is changing so fast, and this isn't the only thing we do. So it's hard to keep up on all the different scams and how to investigate them, because these people, this is their job. They specialize in it, and so and I mean, when we look to some bigger countries like Russia and China, I mean, their governments are funding some of these. When we look at foreign actor interference, and that's even like at a higher level. So we just have to be really, really careful. Question what you're seeing online. Just recently, Chef Michael Smith. And that was just through AI, where they were faking that he was endorsing a product. So how many people went out and bought that product because they're a fan of him? So you just have to be. And my mom had saw that and said, it just doesn't seem right. So again, it's just that feeling. If it doesn't seem right, listen to yourself and
the
question.
artificial intelligence now they could be putting your
Well,
face and
yeah.
your
Yeah,
body and
yeah,
everything,
100%.
it looks like you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
it's too polished sometimes. You can't see the difference.
Yeah, you could. Yeah,
You know?
yeah. So you just got to be aware and really pay attention and question. Just
Even
question them.
on Facebook, I'd be going through and there'd be a nice verse or sailing or something that's connected to.
Facebook is the worst.
Yeah, and
I mean, Facebook is perfect for
I would
scammers.
just read it and say, yes, I liked it, or, that, push the little button to say that you enjoyed it. And then I'll go into, they'll come up on the other side and it'll be somebody there saying, oh, and she was talking about like usually it's a service person of some kind, military. And they'll say, we really enjoyed, they knew my name, really enjoyed your, really wanted to be a friend, and, and that's what it is, they're trying to get into. And I just delete it, of course.
Like an example, I think Facebook is the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, but an example, could Facebook be regulated to that people that post? I mean, it's 99% of the stuff is fake.
Yeah,
I mean, all the advertising is all
it
fake.
could be, but you got to remember it's a business.
Okay, but it cannot be regulated because this is like the biggest scam on earth.
It's your privacy.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
they're helping all the
And
scammers.
the problem is they change those settings all the time, and I mean they can't especially as an American company. So
They take the money, they don't care.
right, yeah, and it's a business, and as soon as you start to monitor or vet out any information, then freedom of speech, your rights, all of that stuff comes into play. So it's tough because we're very lucky to be able to have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, but it comes with a cost as well.
Because I mean, this is like the platform for the scammer. It's like, hello, you don't even have to post and then you just go there and you scam like everybody does like talking about their cats and their lonely and everything. Give me 5,000, I'll talk to you. Okay, perfect. Let's go. Like, and then talk about your hamster or whatever.
And something that a lot of people don't realize about Facebook too is that it caters to your interests.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we see these people who get caught up in like terrorism or anti-Trudeau or whatever the case may be, extreme far left or far right ideas. And the reason why that happens a lot is because once you do a search for something or read an article on something, they then start catering all of the content based on your previous views. So someone who begins to go down that far left path or far right path, that is all they begin to see. And so they think that everybody thinks that way because that's all the content they're seeing. So above, frauds and scams, these sort of social platforms can cause real issues with that as well because it can really kind of direct or guide beliefs.
Sometimes you're on the site and it says, how do they know?
Yeah.
That I like that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I went once and suddenly bang, 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 you get tons and thinking, well, I just went on that site once.
Yeah.
Well, all I have to do is a search for something online and then you'll get 15 or 20.
I know.
Yeah.
Talk about it, like your phone listens.
Yeah.
Talk about Pizza Hut, and 5 minutes later it's an advertisement on the phone.
You get a pizza for free.
Yeah, it's like, what is
Please,
Do you have anything you want to add? Anything you've seen around here lately that has...
I mean, I'm sure you probably touched on a lot of it to begin with, but like I came here from a bigger city, from Halifax, so I saw a lot of interesting ones there. And like just to touch on, like there's no age that they really discriminate against. We dealt with a lot of student ones, like so coming into Halifax, there's 3 major universities. There's Dalhousie, St. Mary's.
No else?
Mount
St.
St. Vincent.
Oh, Mount St. Vincent, yeah.
And that's not even including all the community colleges, and so the housing crisis. So there's nowhere to live. So there's a lot of these rental scams where they'll post you can come look at this apartment, but I need $500 down to come even look at it. So then they transfer because you can't get an apartment anymore. So the students are sending the money, and then it disappears. So instead of getting hit once for thousands of dollars, they're hitting hundreds of students for hundreds of dollars, and it all adds up. So things like that. They're very creative, and so don't feel embarrassed if you got tricked because literally like everyone's getting tricked.
I got tricked also for the apartment too.
Yeah.
So 3 times. I forgot about this week. The apartment didn't exist. I gave 3,500. I got there and someone says, "There's no apartment, sir." I said, "Yes, I have the picture." He said, "No." And then I said, "Okay." So bloody. So I guess my name is in
The marketplace is one of the.
It's one of the
It
worst.
is.
I hear so many people say
Yeah.
I sent an e-transfer and they sent me to the wrong address.
I had a file where a couple, they were looking for a truck, like a truck engine, and couldn't find it. The next day, an ad on Facebook Marketplace popped up for exactly what they were looking for. It's like it was a whole truck, and so they contacted them. And they said, yeah, we have the truck, and the whole story. They had pictures online, and the story was that her grandson had died. It was his truck. She was just trying to move it along quickly. So they said, okay, yeah, well, and so they said, so what they had done is they said, the scamsters had said, yes, just to be safe, we want to use the Facebook fraud protection people. So I guess down in the States, there's like a Facebook fraud protection group that you can send money, like do the transactions through, but it doesn't exist in Canada. Anyway, so they said that, and they had an email that was facebookfraudprotection.com, and they sent them a Bitcoin wallet address. And so they went to an ATM, a Bitcoin ATM machine, put in their $3,500, and it was gone. So I just wanted to look into it. So I traced the wallet transactions, and you could see there was, I think, $7 million went through these wallets that this money had been dispersed to. And so I did a production order for the domain, the email address, to find out who owned facebookfraudproduction.com. And it came back to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it had the guy's name. And I looked him up on Google Maps, and I could see it was just a house on a street, and it had a do not enter sign on the front gate. And I called Albuquerque, New Mexico police, and I sat on their call line, and they said, in the last 24 hours, we have had 6 murders. It was they're not going to care about $3,500. So I finally got through to their fraud line, or their department, and left a message, and I never heard from them. But it's, because really, in some of those places, probably a fraud of $3,500 to someone in Canada is not top priority. But
my Bath and Beyond, I got the delivery. It was delivered to Puerto Rico.
Really?
Yeah, and I said to the girl, I said, "Are you saying that he's got my 100-inch TV?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "Bloody! He's got a brand new 100-inch TV, and I lost money, and I could see that where it went, and
really?
It was all everywhere."
Yeah.
But I forgot I got scammed also for Bitcoin, so for that. I forgot. But
You're
this
just trusting.
this one was only 1,500.
Okay.
This one, I didn't understand Bitcoin, and after that, I know that it's not traceable.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, and Bitcoin, once you, I found out from that, as soon as so there's a Bitcoin ATM machine, and
Yes.
Pizza Corner Hub or Donair Pizza there in University, and it's literally seconds once you put that money in that it's gone. Yeah,
I know.
literally seconds. Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
And I talked to the guy that he told me to do that
yeah.
and everything, and he replied to me. He says, "Sucks to be you." And I'm thinking,
They just feel untouchable.
I
every
think
time, it's.
With the Bitcoin, I don't know if here on the island, but some in Nova Scotia, so Halifax Central Division, they were just starting to get the technology to track crypto and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But before that, there was one member, an RCP member in all of Nova Scotia that had the
training.
the training, the equipment to do Bitcoin stuff. So you can just imagine his
Yeah.
and it would happen every day in Halifax. Every day there was more Bitcoin frauds, more.
Yeah.
It was all known to this one guy. I don't even know where he worked. But
Yeah. It's
that's what I mean. You can imagine.
and the misconception is that Bitcoin transactions are completely anonymous. They can be traced, but it's difficult to trace them, and you need special software and tools to do it. But where you can get them is the exiting from Bitcoin. So in order for people to get their money out of Bitcoin, there has to be an account with a person's name and address attached to it. So often, or at exchanges, Bitcoin exchanges, then you can sometimes trace it that way, but it's challenging.
So do we have that technology here now? Or?
I do a little bit,
yeah.
but I'm not very good, and I don't have all the products.
It's still fairly new too.
Still fairly new. Ottawa there was a guy here in PEI who went to Ottawa, and that's what he does full time.
Right.
So we have the resources.
Yeah.
It may not be here locally, but we can send it, and
Yeah.
we have people who will do it. So yeah. Anything else? Thank you everyone for coming. It's a beautiful day out there.
Yes.
We've had a lot of online people watching as well.
Oh, great,
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I ask is that if all of you just talk to a couple of people about all of this stuff and get the message out there, don't be embarrassed, report it, don't be afraid to say no, then we've done the best we can do, and hopefully we can save someone else from being a victim.
My question's a little bit away from that, what you're talking about.
That's okay.
How do we stop people from stealing our vehicles when we buy?
That's
We're gonna buy a new one,
yeah.
and you're staying in hotels for weeks at a time.
That's tough because that's a big new area, and again, it's a technology thing that we're still trying to catch up with.
Because going through Montreal,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, in Montreal, hello, Mike.
Yeah.
My partner that I'm working with, he's obviously up in town, but he just came here from Peel Regional Police, and that's the unit he was in. He was in the auto theft unit.
Oh, okay.
So he'd be,
The person to talk to.
yeah, so Blair English, I don't know if you know the name or not.
Yeah, Blair. Yeah.
So he says it's unreal, like the technology and all these new vehicles, they're all computerized. It's
Yeah.
not-
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
So all these, they just need to come near your house with the equipment they have, and it'll read your fob. It copies it digitally from outside your home, and they're just driving away people's vehicles in Ontario. It's so bad that I think I just read an article recently that the Ontario police they're encouraging people not to even walk. Like just it's gone. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Wow.
And like it's.
My son, he's a bit of a nerd. But he actually, and he's over at Dow for engineering, electrical engineering, and he said, Mom, I just ordered something and I found out they just outlawed it. So he actually had ordered the components you needed to build that little unit. Like he just ordered it online, and then after he ordered it, they said no, they're illegal to have now because they've linked them to. But it was just looked like a little fob, and it was something that he could build. I mean, he does have some skills, probably more than the average person, but yeah. And I'm like, Ashton,
Well,
just
Like how you
Just build a car.
don't, yeah.
Hey,
Mommy is working against that. Don't do
right
that.
now, in the steering wheel,
Oh, I won't get very far.
they got bolt cutters.
Yeah. It's tough.
Buy
I
a
mean-
car that's not very popular.
Yeah.
And then I won't have a wife that'll be happy.
It's
She's
some
watching,
of it,
by the way. She's on the live stream.
some of it is the old fashioned try and stay in places that are safe, park under a light. That might help a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's I don't know.
But
It's
once they take them, they rebin them, they paint them. It's
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or maybe put a sign, it doesn't work well.
It's tough there.
Needs a lot of repairs.
I don't know, how bad is it here? Do we have a lot of?
We're not having many.
They cannot
Yeah.
leave the island, that's a
Yeah,
problem.
well, and we're lucky here because we do have those choke points. So it's harder to get a vehicle off the island, definitely.
And there's not a lot of commercial theft with vehicles. Like in Ontario, it's all commercial theft. They're being stolen and shipped overseas immediately if they're all overseas.
Yes.
Here you get the theft of a vehicle, it'll show up 2 days later abandoned down a
Yeah.
dirt road. So
It's
Yeah.
a kid going for a
Yeah,
joyride.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
far, there's been a couple reports of some that have ended up, I think, overseas, but there's not much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's probably a 1 or 2 off kind of thing.
Blair's the one to talk to, he's got
Yeah. Yep.
I've had a lot of people asking me about that lately. Just people going away on trips. They're wondering
Sure.
how do I
Yeah.
keep my car
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah. Definitely reach out to Mike Robinson, Sergeant
Yeah.
Robinson at Montague Detachment, and if Blair, that's.
He's our RCMP liaison for council, so we.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
reach out.
perfect.
Okay.
And he may be able to arrange something with Blair.
Okay.
Yep.
And absolutely, if you're going away, stop posting the video.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is part of the
Exactly.
that's part
Stop
of our.
posting a picture of
Wait
your car
until
with
you
your
get home
Yeah.
and share your
and your
pictures,
plate
but
number on your car.
there's so
also.
many people that are gone away and they're, I
That's
mean,
that
it's
personal.
nice,
That's that
it's
personal
nice,
information. Yeah.
but you're
Yeah.
sharing that you're down
Away?
south or
Yeah.
you're here or there.
Might as well
and
put a sign up that says "Break in right now."
You're telling the whole world.
The door
that
is
you're
not even
not
locked.
Yeah.
You're telling everyone you're not home.
100%.
That's something we never did, like we
Yeah.
traveled a
Yeah.
lot, we had a little motorhome, and we traveled a
Yeah.
lot. But we never ever put any pictures or anything on Facebook.
And try not to, like, we all do it, I do it myself, pictures in your yard.
Yeah.
I just feel really strongly, don't show people what you have.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Because when you're not home, that's But it's just nature. We take
Yeah.
Yeah,
pictures
we're
and
more
stuff.
proud.
Yeah.
But if
We're
you're
proud.
sharing them on
Yeah.
social media,
Yeah.
then you're telling people what your possessions
Yeah,
are.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, personal information that you would
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
showing people.
And not
what you
everyone's
have.
your friend. So
No,
Yeah.
that's right.
they're not-
Yeah, no, that's one
Yeah.
thing I definitely don't do is just try not to let people know when you're not at home and try
Mhm.
not to have stuff in your pictures that
Yeah,
is a possession to you.
yeah,
Put
definitely.
your panorama stuff instead.
Keep my
Yes,
shit
tell her
closed
next.
Yeah.
If I'm in the house, that way
Yeah.
no one knows what I have.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, or where you store things, yeah,
Exactly.
for sure. Yeah.
yeah. I just wanted to ask her. I'm lucky.
Thanks again for
Thank
coming.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Thank you very much.